Hello again, everyone. Edwin Lerner back once again in this YouTube astrological segment. I'm going to be talking about Mercury in conjunct the Ascendant in a natal chart. Now, first off, some of you may remember when I first started my YouTube astrology channel, I did a series on the aspects in a natal chart. They were a little bit concise. Some people may refer to them as snappy, so what I decided to do is make another series on them in which the videos would be a little bit longer and more descriptive. So anyway, first thing up is, well, if you have Mercury in conjunct the Ascendant in a natal chart, an adjustment, which is the Inconjunct, may be needed between communication, which is Mercury, and new beginnings, which is the Ascendant. So if you have one or the other, maybe overemphasized, you may either at times feel like you're dominated by communication and not enough on actually taking action in new beginnings, which is the Ascendant, or it could be the other way around. There may be too much energy devoted toward new projects and endeavors. Maybe there's not enough thinking about those matters beforehand, or it could be too much talking and not enough doing in terms of new beginnings. But let's say if the Ascendant is in Taurus as an example, new beginnings, new projects and endeavors can be connected with carpet laying, geology, work as a stockbroker, a pawnbroker, doing something with agriculture, gardening, cultivation, architecture, finance, banking, as some examples. If the Ascendant, say, is in Scorpio, well, new beginnings, may be tied in, is making a major change or transformation. It may be, doing something in which one has more power and control over, some situation or some Scorpio related field, whether it could be working as starting work as in embalming, working as a coroner, a surgeon, locksmithing, psychology, or the occult, which includes astrology. Now, another thing too is that there may be an imbalance between activities that are connected with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, which is Mercury, and that of a grandparent and people prominent in your early childhood, which is the Ascendant. I'll elaborate on that. You may either be dominated by activities with siblings, cousins, and neighbors, again, which is Mercury, to the expense of devotion to a grandparent and people prominent in your early childhood, which is the Ascendant, or the other way around. The key is to find the balance, the equilibrium between the two. Now, let's say if you have your Mercury in Gemini, one or more siblings, cousins, and neighbors may actually be a Gemini, Sun, Moon, or Ascendant, or embody those characteristics. It could be those, that are very loquacious, mercurial, fickle, adaptable, versatile, multifaceted, but may have a tendency to gossip and be overly talkative, overly loquacious in some cases. So another thing too is that if you have Mercury in conjunct the Ascendant in a natal chart, another way it may manifest is that there may be times where you're either really enamored with physical related, which is the Ascendant, activities, using the hands, which is Mercury. And other times you may just be apathetic and oblivious to those things and not have really any interest at all. You may be completely indifferent regarding those matters. Now, let's say if Mercury is in Aquarius as an example, those activities that are connected with the use of the hands, there may be doing something with electronics such as soldering, or it may be something associated with computers, as another example. And the thing about this too is, when you have, this at, Mercury in conjunct the Ascendant in a natal chart, a lot of times it could be, a lot of, the vacillation and distortion of energy. It could be doing a lot of something one moment and then just, completely just, what you were interested in or what have you may be, non-existent. You may go through prolonged or protracted periods without doing them. And the thing is, like, say if you have, this aspect in your natal chart, there may be times when you're simply bombarded with short journeys, which is Mercury. And it could be, to places that were prominent in your early childhood, which is the Ascendant, or even during the time of your early childhood. And then other times, there may be, you may go for prolonged periods without even, taking, these short journeys to these places. And, the thing about it is, now let's say, um, the Ascendant, is in Libra as an example. Those places, that were prominent in one's early childhood, they may be things, it could be, things that are very peaceful, serene, attractive places that, may have been art galleries, as some examples. It may be also too, if we say the going to the Ascendant, in the zodiac sign Cancer, those places that were prominent in one's early childhood may have been one that were, more historical or tied in with nostalgia, or it could be something with, one's ancestry or roots or traditions, as another example. And another thing about this aspect in your natal chart, it may be expressed in, vacillating between excessively thinking, which is Mercury, on matters pertaining to the physical body and appearance, which is the Ascendant. And then other times you're just oblivious to them, and you're completely not concerned with those matters whatsoever. So if the Ascendant is in Sagittarius, as an example, those matters connected with the physical body and appearance, it might be sometimes heaviness, it could be obesity, it may be concerned about having a very robust type athletic kind of build. The thing is, if the Ascendant is in Aries, Aries rising tends to be lean and spare in terms of the physique. So there may be concern over, the weight to some degree. Capricorn rising could be comparable to this, because Capricorn Ascendant often can be, very, slender in terms of their build, and may have difficulty in gaining weight. So now another thing too is that there may either be very intense thinking, which is Mercury, about making that good first impression, which is the Ascendant. And other times you may be indifferent about this and not even be worried or concerned at all in terms of the impression that you may make on other people. Now, if you have the Ascendant in Virgo as an example, that first impression that you may want to make may be tied in with being very, reliable, industrious, punctual, punctilious with details, very helpful, service oriented. If the Ascendant, say, is an Aquarius, as another example, that first impression may be tied in with being very selfless, altruistic, unobtrusive, person that shows, humanitarian qualities, even ingenious qualities too. So, and another thing too about Mercury in conjunct one's Ascendant in the natal chart, it could also manifest in either, at times having that exorbitant vitality and energy, which is the Ascendant, for communication, writing, manual dexterity, which is Mercury. Then other times you just may feel either lethargic or just have really no energy, for those matters. Now, let's say if you have, Mercury, is in Pisces, right? Maybe there's, something you're expressing with manual dexterity with boating or fishing, working on fishing equipment, being able to use the hands in order to, take care of those things, make repairs on them. Writing, if Mercury's in Pisces, can be connected with poetry, dancing, photography, fantasy, fiction, or even the metaphysical. which includes astrology. Now, also too, there may be either intense analysis regarding which is Mercury, how you come across to others, which is the ascendant, and other times you may not even be thinking or worried about analyzing these things at all, and not even maybe even care, be apathetic regarding how you come across to others, which is the ascendant. Now, let's say the ascendant is in Leo. You may come across to others, or try to come across to others as being very dignified, having a lot of pride, being very loyal, faithful, being magnanimous, generous, expressing a very sunny disposition, being very confident and self-assured, as some examples. Anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment. Until next time, Edwin Leonard saying, stay well.